How dare you disrespect me, woman? How dare you disrespect a title man like me? Nze, in anger, was asking his wife, Ugomma, moving towards her. Ugomma, who was terrified and afraid her husband Nze would descend on her, like he normally does, rushed towards the door. But Nze got to the door before her. He closed the door and dragged her back inside the room. I ask you again, woman, who is beating the drum for you? When have you grown so strong and fearless to fight a woman you said to be my mistress in the market? Don't you have shame? You dare drag my name in the mud in this community. Before Ugomma could say anything, she felt a hot slap land on her face. She fell on her knee, begging Nze, who still landed a second slap on her face before he turned to leave the room. When he left the room, their 3 children who had been hiding behind doors entered the room and helped their crying mother up. They made her sit on a chair. The older one, Oluchi, was trying her best to console their mother, while the 2 younger ones joined their mother in crying. Nze forcefully opened the door again, walking straight towards his wife Ugomma. The children were terrified and scared. They held on to their mother so tight, crying so loud. You foolish woman, next time I will have to remind you that I am a man, and it is in my nature as a man that I am to be promiscuous and polygamous. Next time I will have to repeat myself again. These your children here will not be able to recognize you after I finish dealing with you. I am a man and I am entitled to keep as many women as I like. You should be glad I made you my wife out of the numerous women out there that wanted me. Next time you confront any of my mistress again, I will bring the woman home and make her a second wife. Nze shouted at his wife Ugomma in front of their children before he left the room. Ugomma broke down in tears when Nze slammed the door. What hurts Ugomma the most was the fact that Nze doesn't care so much about what he says in front of their children. He always says all manner of things to her without minding whether the children are listening or not. He would always scream and shout at the children at any slightest mistake, to the point that the children had become so afraid of him. Once they hear him coming home, they would go hiding in their rooms, taking extra measure not to upset him. The very reason the children love spending and visiting their grandparents. Nze doesn't care where his children are. Left for him, he would also want his wife Ugo to join the children at her parents' place so that he wouldn't have any hindrance bringing in women to his house. Ugo had thought that Nze would change with time, but he got worse when he became wealthy. He spent his money on women and would always ask her if she had given him any money to keep for her each time she asked him for money. He doesn't fail to remind Ugo that he is a man and men are meant to keep as much women as they like. After Nze had left the house, Ugomma needed someone to talk to. She got hold of herself, prepared meal for her children. After she left the house to her friend's place, Ego. She had been friends with Ego for a very long time. Ego was like a sister to her. She was one person apart from her parents that understands and knows what she passes through in the hands of her husband Nze. She had a lot to talk to Ego about. She needed to offload the heavy load in her head and mind. When she got to Ego's house, the place was quiet. No sight of Ego and Ego's little boy Ndo. She stood looking lost and helpless. She had wished that Ego would be in her house. Going back to her house was the last thing she wanted. She decided to wait for her friend Ego, hoping she would be home in a short time. She took a stool in the compound to the front of Ego's hut, where she sat quietly waiting for Ego. She could hear a sound coming from the hut. She stood up with hope in her eyes. She called, "Ego, Ego, are you inside?" But nobody answered. She called her friend Ego again. "Ego, it's me, Ugomma. Are you in there?" Yet nobody answered. She became confused. She had thought she had a voice. She slowly pulled the front door and it opened. Behold, she got the greatest shock of her life. The sight of her friend Ego on the bed with Nze made her scream so loud. She was looking from Nze, who wrapped himself in Ego's wrapper, to Ego, who couldn't look at her in the face. Before she could say a word, Nze got up from the bed, shouting on top of his voice, "So you now follow me around, Ugomma? So it has gotten to this point, right?" He was walking towards Ugomma, raising his hand up to hit her. Ego called after him, "Nzem, please don't. Just let her be." Nze stopped. All right, Ego, I'm sparing this woman here because of you. I would have taught her a great lesson she wouldn't forget in a hurry in her entire life. Ugomma couldn't wait to hear more. She made it to the door and ran outside the compound. She kept running until she got home. She called her children to put all their clothes inside a bag and wait for her in the compound. She rushed inside the room, packed all her clothes and belongings, and dragged the big bag outside. Together, she and her children started their journey to her parents' house. It was already late in the evening, but Ugomma didn't mind. She swore to herself she must not spend a night in her husband's house. She got to her parents' home by midnight. Her parents were surprised to see their daughter and their grandchildren. They welcomed them and served them food. The children ate, but Ugomma couldn't. She had no appetite for food. Her parents decided to let their daughter be till morning. Ugomma's parents couldn't sleep. They were bothered. They knew that whatever must have made their daughter to leave her husband's house and travel that long distance with her children to meet them must be serious. They were praying and hoping someone hadn't died. They were up early in the morning. They wanted to know what was happening. When Ugomma woke up from her restless sleep, she met her parents seated in the room watching her and her children sleep. In order not to disturb the children that were still asleep, they asked her to come to the sitting room with them. When they were seated, Ugomma narrated to them how she had seen her husband with her best friend Ego together on the same bed. How Nze beats her up and the children all the time. She told her parents she no longer has the strength to keep pushing. She wants to be unmarried. Her parents were hurt, learning what their daughter Ugomma has been going through in the hands of her husband. They consoled her and reassured her everything would be fine. They let Ugomma and her children stay with them, hoping and expecting Nze would come looking for his family. But to their greatest surprise, Nze didn't pay them a visit. Ugomma's father was angry and mad. He was asking what kind of a man would not look for his family 3 weeks after they left his house in such manner. In anger, he decided he would pay a visit to Nze himself, since he had refused to come even after he sent a message asking him to come that he wanted to see him. On the day he planned to go to Nze's house, he asked his daughter Ugomma to get dressed and go with him. Ugomma obeyed his father and set out on the journey with the father. The journey was quite a long one, and Ugomma was worried about her old father trekking for that long distance under the hot sun. When they finally got to Nze's house, the father knocked on the front door. They heard a woman's voice telling them she was coming to open the door. The moment Ugo heard a woman's voice, her heart started racing. She looked at her father in shock, who gestured to her to keep calm. The door was opened, and Ugo was standing face to face with her friend Ugo. Ugomma couldn't believe her eyes. Before her father could stop her, she had pushed Ego on the hard ground, pounding on her. "What did I ever do to you, Ego? So you have been stabbing me at the back all this while, thinking I have a friend." Her father was still trying so hard to separate them, but Ugo held on so tight, refusing to let Ego go. Nze came out from the house where he heard voices and noise in his compound. When he saw Ugomma and Ego struggling on the floor, he rushed and pushed Ugomma away. He charged towards her, asking her why she had come to his house to create a scene. Ugomma's father stepped in between Nze and Ugomma, telling Nze he would have to deal with him first before getting to his daughter. Nze stopped immediately when he realized his in-law had come with his daughter. "I sent someone to your house to inform me I wanted to see you in my house. Why didn't you come to know why I was calling you?" Ugomma's father asked him. "Because I have been very busy harvesting my crops. You know I'm a very busy man and I have got plenty land. And again, I think I know why you would be calling me, to plead with me to take back your daughter." Nze replied the old man. He continued, "But since she is here already, I will put everything behind and accept her back. But as she can see, she now has a co-wife. You know I am a man and I have needs. I don't even know what your daughter was thinking when she left my house. That I, Nze, would starve myself and keep waiting on a woman. No, not me, Nze. No woman would decide for me." He turned facing Ugo, saying to her, "Since you have decided to return back to me, I would want to make some things clear to you. Ego here is now your co-wife. I no longer want to hide it anymore. That her little boy is my son. I am his father. I would want you to treat him as you would treat any of my children." The old man cut him short. He didn't let him finish. He told him he had seen everything for himself, and he would be expecting him and his kinsmen to come in the next 4 market days to collect the bride price he paid on his daughter's head. He took Ugo by the hand and left the compound. Ugoma's father was burning with anger, but he managed to hold himself for the sake of his daughter Ugo, who had been crying since they left in the compound. Ugoma's heart was shattered. She was asking herself so many questions. She was shocked that all these years, the little boy she helped her friend Ego carry when he was small was her husband's son. All the while, she had thought she had a friend in Ego, but it had dawned on her she surrounded herself with an enemy. Her heart was broken into pieces. When Ugo and her father left in the compound, Ego was very happy, especially with what Ugoma's father said about asking Nze to come and collect back his bride price. She couldn't wait to be the only one Nze is marrying. She kept asking Nze when he would be going to collect back his bride price, but Nze told her he wasn't in a hurry, that he was sure the old man didn't mean what he said. He had said those things out of anger, and he knew that soonest they would be back here begging him to accept Ugoma and the children back, because he was a powerful, wealthy man. Ugoma was disappointed. When the 4 market days passed and Nze didn't show up with his kinsmen, Ugoma's father sent a message to him again, asking him to come and collect back what he paid on his daughter's head. When Nze got the message, he realized the old man was not joking. Ego was expecting to see her friend Ugoma return to the house like Nze had said, but there was no sight of Ugoma and her children. She didn't mind. She was so happy she would not be sharing Nze and his money with anyone. The first few months of living with Nze was the best part of her life. She had everything she needed. Nze would get her the latest clothes in the market. He employed 2 domestic staffs to serve her. She was so proud of herself for fighting for what she had always wanted. Everything changed when Ego got pregnant for Nze. Few months after, Nze started going after younger women. He hardly stays at home with his pregnant wife. Some days, Ego wouldn't get to see him at night. Anytime Ego complains, he would beat her up with the pregnancy. He would always tell her she wanted to be his wife and he made her a wife. So what else does she want? With time, Ego became a punching bag. She dare not ask Nze his whereabouts, afraid that Nze would beat her up. He doesn't fail to remind her that he was a man and he was meant to keep mistress like he kept her. Ego finally gave birth to a very beautiful girl. She had expected Nze to be happy, but when Nze got home and learned his wife delivered a baby girl, he angrily left the house, asking her why she couldn't give him a son instead. Doesn't she know he was a title man in need of many sons to manage his wealth? As days go by, things became worse for Ego. Nze started bringing his mistress home, and Ego dare not complain. At a point, Ego couldn't take it anymore, but she had no one to turn to for help. She was afraid people would laugh at her if she leaves the marriage. One night, she had woken up to go ease herself outside the hut when she met her husband Nze struggling to urinate. Each time he tries, he would scream in pain. Ego rushed to hold him, asking him what the problem was. Nze told her he doesn't know what was happening to him, that for some days he has been feeling pain each time he wants to urinate. In the morning, he asked Ego to go bring the best physician in town because he was finding it difficult to walk. Ego didn't waste time. She rushed to bring the best physician in their town. The physician, after examining him, gave him some herbs and other things to be taken. But a few days after, Nze noticed his penis and balls were enlarged. He cried out in pain. To pass urine became harder than it was before. He could no longer walk properly. Sometimes it would get so bad that he would need Ego's help to move around the house. Things were changing so fast for Nze and his wife Ego. The rest of the story would be told in our next video. Please subscribe so you don't get to miss the rest of the story, and other interesting videos will be uploading in this channel. I really hope you enjoyed this video. We would love to know what you think in the comment section. Don't forget to like the video as well. We really appreciate your support and time. Thank you so much for your time. Bye.